Bride price. A gift of money or goods from the groom or his kin to the bride's kin is known as bride price or bride wealth. The gift usually grants the groom the right to marry the bride and the right to her children. And of all the forms of economic transactions involved in marriage, bride price is the most common. In one cross-cultural sample, 44% of societies that had economic transactions at marriage practiced bride price. Payment may be made in different currencies. Livestock and food are two of the more common. With the increased importance of commercial exchange, money has increasingly become part of bride price payments. So basically, ito ay mabinibigay ng family ng groom sa family ng kanyang gustong maging bride. Pwedeng mga livestock katulad ng baka, tupa, or pwede rin namang straight up pera na lang ang ibigay or i-offer. Despite the connotations that bride price may have, the practice does not reduce a woman to the position of slave. The bride price may be important to the woman and her family. Indeed, the fee they receive can serve as a security. It could serve as a security in a way kasi mababawasan ng isang member ang family kaya mababawasan din yung pwedeng tumulong sa pagtatrabaho. Bride service. It occurs in about 19% of the societies with economic transactions. Requires the groom to provide bride service or work for the bride's family, sometimes before the marriage begins, sometimes after. Bride service varies in duration. In some societies, it lasts for only a few months. In others, as long as several years. In some societies, bride service sometimes substitutes for bride price. An individual might give bride service to reduce the amount of bride price required. So dito naman yung husband-to-be ay magtatrabaho para sa pamilya ng mapapangasawa niya and yung duration nito ay nagvavary sa custom ng tribe or community. One reason siguro nito ay para ma-assess ng family ng bride kung capable ba yung mapapangasawa ng anak nila. Exchange of females. Of the societies that have economic transactions at marriage, 6% have this custom exchange of females. In this tradition, a sister or female relative of the groom is exchanged for the bride. This happens siguro dahil baka para sa ibang mga tribe or community na merong ito ay malaking bagay kapag nawalan sila ng isang capable na body na pwedeng tumulong sa pagtatrabaho lalo na siguro kapag malaki ang role na ginagampanan ng mga babae. Gift exchange. Of the societies that have economic transactions at marriage, 11% have this custom, gift exchange. The exchange of gifts of about equal value by the two kin groups about to be linked by marriage occurs. So dito naman magkakaroon yung dalawang pamilya ng bigayan ng mga gift or let's say offering sa isa't isa pag na-engage na or ikakasal na yung couple. Dowry. A substantial transfer of goods or money from the bride's family to the bride, the groom, or the couple is known as dowry. I think the difference in here is that bride price is given in order to get the woman, while dowry is given to the woman in order for her and her family to have a starting wealth, para magkaroon sila ng pang-start nila as a married couple, para sa mga gastusin nila. Dowry is given in about 8% of societies with economic transactions. Payment of dowries was common in medieval and Renaissance Europe, where the size of the dowry often determined the desirability of the daughter. Pag mas mataas ang dowry, mas desirable yung daughter. Indirect dowry. The dowry is provided by the bride's family to the bride, the groom, or the couple, but sometimes the payments to the bride originate from the groom's family, because the goods are sometimes first given to the bride's father, who passes most, if not all of them to her. Indirect dowry occurs in about 12% of the societies in which marriage involves an economic transaction. For example, among the Baseri of southern Iran, The groom's father assumes the expense of setting up the couple's new household. He gives cash to the bride's father, who uses at least some of the money to buy his daughter household utensils, blankets, and rugs. So dito ang sa tingin ko naman na difference sa dowry ay kung ang dowry ay binibigay sa married couple direkta, and indirect dowry naman dumidiretso muna sa parents ng isang couple, and dun like yung sa baseri nga ng Southern Iran, tumutulong sila sa pag-start ng family ng couple through pagbili ng ibang mga kagamitan na kailangan nila. Restrictions on marriage. The universal incest taboo. Marriage is seldom based solely on mutual love, nor is it based on sex or wealth alone. Even when love, sex, and economics are contributing factors, regulations specify whom one may or may not marry. Perhaps the most rigid regulation found in all cultures is the incest taboo, which prohibits sexual intercourse or marriage between some categories of kin or family. The most universal aspect of the incest taboo is the prohibition of sexual intercourse or marriage between mother and son, father and daughter, and brother and sister. No society in recent times has permitted either sexual intercourse or marriage between those pairs. A few societies in the past, however, did permit incest, mostly within the royal and aristocratic families. For example, the Incan and Hawaiian royal families allowed marriage within the family, but probably the best known example of allowed incest involved Cleopatra of Egypt, where she married her brothers Ptolemy the 13th and Ptolemy the 14th para yung rulership ay magstay sa family nila. Between 30 BC and 324 AD, incest was allowed in ancient Egypt not only among the royal family but among commoners as well. An estimated 8% of commoner marriages were brother to sister marriages. In spite of such exceptions, no culture we know of today permits or accepts incest within the nuclear family. Several explanations have been suggested why the familial incest taboo is universal. Childhood familiarity theory. The childhood familiarity theory was suggested by Edward Westermarck. Westermarck argued that people who have been closely associated with each other since earliest childhood, such as siblings, are not sexually attracted to each other and would therefore avoid marriage with each other. Ang sinasabi ni Westermarck ay yung mga tao daw na close sa isa't isa, or let's say lumaki magkakasama katulad ng magkakapatid, ay hindi na-attract sexually sa isa't isa. This theory was rejected upon the subsequent discovery that some children were sexually interested in their parents and siblings. Kaso nga lang na-reject yung theory ni Westermarck dahil merong mga instances na nagkagusto sexually sa isa't isa ang magkapatid or ibang family members. More recent studies have suggested, however, that there might be something to Westermarck's theory. Yonina Talmon investigated marriage patterns among the second generation of three well-established collective communities, also known as kibbutz, in Israel. So ang kibbutz is siyang collective community na unique lang sa Israel. Children live with so many members of their peer group in quarters separate from their families. They are in constant interaction with their peers from birth to maturity. The study among 125 couples revealed that, despite parental encouragement of marriage within the peer group, there was not one instance in which both mates were reared from birth in the same peer group. Children reared in common not only avoided marriage, they also avoided any sexual relations among themselves. Talmon reported that the people reared together firmly believed that overfamiliarity breeds sexual disinterest. Dahil dito, sa study ni Talmon, parang na-prove niya yung theory ni Westermarck na kapag matagal na magkasama ang dalawang tao or sabay silang tumanda, nawawalan sila ng sexual interest sa isa't isa and dire-reject pa nila yung idea ng marriage. Arthur Wolf's study of the Chinese in northern Taiwan also supports the idea that something about being reared together produces sexual disinterest. Wolf focused on a community still practicing the Chinese custom of Tung Yangzi, or daughter-in-law raised from childhood. When a girl is born in a poor family, she is often given away or sold when she is still a few weeks old, or months old, or 1 or 2 years old, to be the future wife of a son in the family of a friend or relative which has little son not betrothed in marriage. The girl is called a little bride and taken home and brought up in the family, together with her future husband. Dito ang isang mahirap na pamilya pwedeng ibigay yung daughter nila sa kaibigan nila or even relative kung saan yung anak nilang lalaki ay hindi pa engaged. At dito papalakihin yung daughter na kasama ng kanyang future husband. Wolff's evidence indicates that this arrangement is associated with sexual difficulties when the childhood couple later marry. The familiarity caused the couple to be disinterested and fail to be stimulated by one another. Such couples produce fewer offspring than spouses who are not raised together, and are more likely to seek extramarital sexual relationships and are more likely to get divorced. Dahil sa familiarity sa isa't isa, parang nababawasan or minsan hindi talaga sila na-arouse sa isa't isa and it results sa minsan hiwalayan nila. At dahil din dito sa familiarity na ito ay mas konti talaga yung mga nagiging anak nila kesa sa mga mag-asawa na hindi napalaki na magkasama.